and welcome back to the Help Where Nerds podcast. Today I'm joined by two nerds of the round table, and would you like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Tom. I was on the Hogwarts special when I'm in the D&D campaign as Jaden Jenkins.
I'm Rob. I'm technically Tom but I'm mentally fit.
So, getting into today's topic, we are talking about something that was brought up in the first episode of Season 2. I believe it was Ashley that suggested the topic, but we've come round to getting down to it, and it's how superhero movies have impacted cinema as a whole.
How far do you want me to go back? Because I have some knowledge on this that I've been stored away since university.
Oh, go as far back as you possibly can.
Okay, then. So, my dissertation was on how superhero movies have changed screenwriting, and it was on the fact of like how CGI has been introduced. But the films that I looked at, it's already come miles and miles since I wrote that. But the ones that I focused on were the original Superman and the Man of Steel. And the original Superman actually made the technology to make Star Wars happen as well.
Yeah.
Because the way they had the flying scenes, they actually brought scientists and stuff in from NASA to help build the machine that made the camera stay in place, but the things move around it, and the sort of emphasis on green screens.
I did not know that.
Yeah, the technology that was used in Superman was it kick-started what happened in Star Wars and went from there onwards and onwards, and how it meant that if you look at the opening 10 minutes of Man of Steel and the original Superman, it's the same story told from how he got sent from what's Superman's home planet called again, guys?
Krypton.
Good. Fastest finger, Ethan wins. But yeah, if you look at the first 10 minutes of that and Man of Steel, it's the same story, but with how much technology has improved, they were able to show more of Krypton than they were in the original. But it was also the storytelling meant that more had to be done via vocals rather like dialogue than cinematic view, because they couldn't physically go, "Oh, this is Krypton" in a convincing manner. But if you look back at Man of Steel, there's a good chunk of Krypton that's there's actually no dialogue, and it's all done by cues on screen by what's being visually represented.
Yeah, the chase scene through Krypton with Jor-El is awesome in Man of Steel.
Yeah, and there was something similar in the original, but it wasn't done to the extent. And it means that how cinema these days, if you look just for example, Endgame, even 10 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to have the shot of Iron Man in space being rescued by Captain Marvel. And then you get into the debate of what draws from what. So is it a case of, so you look back at, is it Gravity? Not Gravity. What was the space? Was it Gravity, the space film that came out that everyone absolutely raved about?
There was Gravity. Yeah. There was Interstellar.
Interstellar is the one that I was thinking of.
Gravity.
Whereas you look at that was the way they shot Interstellar, then incorporated into Avengers, so they could get so they could shoot in space realistically as possible.
I believe they did talk to Chris, the directors of Endgame.
Did they? Just to get it proper.
I think that a lot of it does always play into each other. I mean, there's a lot of, like you say, there is a lot of films that play into not just modern superhero movies, but modern movies as a whole. I mean, speaking as like just in the superhero genre itself, we wouldn't have got the MCU without the early 2000s superhero movies.
Yeah, I was literally just about to go on to that. Like, Marvel played it perfectly in regards to how they sort of every film had a direction.
Yeah.
There wasn't a point where a film was made for the sake of making a film. Whereas you look at and the storytelling done in that aspect. Whereas you look at DC, I think DC have over Marvel when it comes to TV shows.
Oh God, yeah.
But you look at DC on the cinema screen over Marvel, and
movie-wise,
sorry, you carry on, Rob.
Movie-wise, DC's biggest problem is trying not to copy Marvel.
Yeah, but
the point is,
to be successful, they have to.
Yeah.
Because you look at Batman versus Superman. Literally, they're two big figure-headed characters, and they mocked it up because they bonded over both their mums being called Martha.
Yeah, I'll admit there's a 3-hour cut of that movie, which makes the movie so much better.
I mean,
but you can't.
Some of the things they cut out, I don't know why they cut out.
I mean, I think when it comes to things like that, DC had an edge at one point. We can't overlook the Dark Knight trilogy. I think before Iron Man came out, the Dark Knight trilogy was one of the best superhero movies coming out. I know, Rob, you have your opinions on Heath Ledger's Joker, but it was one of the best superhero trilogies, at least for its time. It's been mildly surpassed, wildly surpassed, not mildly, by the MCU at this point. But when they were coming out, I think DC was at the top, because you look at the mess that Fox created with the X-Men around that point, and you look at the fall off of all the Fantastic Four movies that Fox created, and the fact that the Spider-Man trilogy that was good had ended, and then they started the Amazing Spider-Man, and they oversaturated it in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, which meant that fell off.
To be honest, I prefer the Amazing Spider-Man to you.
The Amazing Spider-Man, yes, I'll give you the first one, but they ruined it with 2 because they oversaturated it.
Yeah, true. My problem with the originals is Toby does not look the age he's supposed to.
I think you might. I'm guessing Rob didn't like Heath Ledger as Joker.
It's not that I don't like him. My problem with the Jokers is they always pick an aspect of the Joker, and that's what they run with. And for Heath, he picked the gangster side, which is fair enough. But to me, he was too gangster.
Fair. I get what you're saying, but the way I look at that is rest in peace, Heath Ledger.
Oh no, he did amazing work.
If Heath Ledger had not died, I reckon DC would be competing with Marvel, because you had.
Oh yes. He would probably be in Marvel.
You had your big actor who would. He had done what RDJ had done to Iron Man.
Yes.
He had secured his role, and everyone knew who he was going to be playing and how he was going to be playing him.
I honestly can see Heath in many roles in Marvel.
What was that? Sorry, I missed the last bit of that, Rob.
I could see him playing so many roles in Marvel.
Who, Heath Ledger or?
Yeah, Heath.
Yeah, but what I mean is, if Heath Ledger hadn't died, excuse the phrasing, but DC would have had their anchor character.
Yeah.
And they could have built off him.
Whereas I see what you're saying, because from what Rob's saying, we only got the gangster aspect of the Joker from Heath, but had Heath lived, rest in peace, but had he lived on, they could have devolved into the more chaotic side with Heath's Joker.
Yeah. I can see that.
And carried on that, and then built the DC universe around Heath.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you don't normally build around a villain. But you look at Suicide Squad, when that I really enjoy that movie. I will still watch that movie today.
That movie is not a bad movie. I hated it.
You hated it?
No, I hate how much hate it gets.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I thought it was.
Love the movie.
Yeah, I think it's great. The characters are great. Everyone's great. But you think if they had that, and then you had Heath Ledger's Joker in that same universe.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't even have to be in the movie. He would just have to come and get Harley at the end.
Sure.
And it would have made that whole.
It would have also made Joker and Harley's relationship a little bit more icky as well because of the age difference between Margot Robbie and Heath Ledger, which, I'm sorry, I need people to actually see how icky that relationship is. I don't think people see it enough.
But it's always icky, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I love the Joker. He's one of my favorite characters. Which is funny because now my other half is Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
but I'm slightly jealous. She's got a great actress to first go.
But I've got a question for you guys.
Okay.
Outside of Harry Potter and the octuplet, I don't know the correct term, octilogy or whatever it is. How many other than superhero, like Marvel, where it's into phase 4 or 5 now, where it's got movies that all interlink and are all based around the same sort of characters? Are there any? I can't personally think of any other genres that have done it successfully, apart from Lord of the Rings, that have that, and they're not exact. And some people turn their nose up at The Hobbit and go, "That's not Lord of the Rings." My wife being one of them.
Okay. Firstly, I need to have a word with your wife. Why? Because she's very wrong.
Because it's too long.
No, she's wrong. It is part of the Lord of the Rings.
It is part of Lord of the Rings, but it was built to be the same level of production and story as the original Lord of the Rings, and they stretched a series that could have been two good films to one good film, one adequate film, and one film that just didn't hit the mark.
I disagree there. I like all three.
Well, it sounds like with me and you need to have a Lord of the Rings episode, me and you.
We do.
But then Ashley will get involved, and then she's the fountain of all knowledge when it comes to Lord of the Rings.
I could probably give her a good run for the money, but probably.
I don't think you could, Rob. I'm going to be honest with you here. I don't think you could.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to
the movies. Back to your question. If there's another series that pulls off a long-standing narrative like Lord of the Rings does, Harry Potter, and superhero movies in general, I agree with you. I don't think there is any other genre that pulls off a long-standing narrative. And if you check back to the beginning of this season of the podcast, I actually think Marvel is currently failing at that.
I won't say failing.
I would agree with you because I think this lot of films, they've rushed it. Like
yeah.
Yeah, because we're talking about a conjunctive narrative. This phase is not conjunctive, and I know there are outside factors that have led to this, but Marvel were the kings of it. And
I won't say they're failing, but for me that's a big word.
They're not doing very well at it, and I'll amend my wording.
But then again, I'm really bad when it comes to movies. I find it hard to call any movie crap. I haven't disliked any of the Marvel movies in this phase. I've always found something to enjoy in all of them, I think.
I think a lot rests on a lot of the next films rest on Fantastic Four being good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I disagree with you. Well, I don't. It's not a disagree. I did find some movies that I didn't like.
I'm trying to think of what movies to in this phase.
I mean, I'm talking about like since Endgame. There's definitely been movies I didn't like. There's been movies that have got hate that I don't understand, like Eternals. I don't get that.
Eternals is very niche. And to be honest, needed a bit of a kick occasionally.
It's an indie movie style, but it's not. It's not bad.
I enjoyed it. The Marvels wasn't my cup of tea, but I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it.
I'll be perfectly honest. The one film that I didn't particularly like, and it is literally just because I get what they were going for and applaud them for it, and I have no problem with anything else about the film, but I don't like Wakanda Forever. I understand. I get what it was supposed to be. It's a mourning film. It's about mourning the passing of Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa as a character.
This is where we definitely differ, because out of all of them I can think of, that was one of my favourites out of this phase.
I think it was too slow for me. It took too long.
Eternals.
Can I tell you what film I think was criminally underrated in this batch of films? Shang-Chi and the Five Rings.
I love Shang-Chi.
Yeah, Shang-Chi was really good.
I think it's the best one of this franchise, where it mixes comic book lore, fantasy, storytelling, and the whole just plot. I think that's the one that they should have made him the centre. He still might, but
Simu Liu is amazing.
I think in this phase itself, Shang-Chi was probably my favourite.
Yeah.
Even if Spider-Man's technically counted in this phase, I think it is.
I believe that it is, yeah. I think the reason why Wakanda Forever doesn't hit for me is because it spends so much time because it doesn't feel like a superhero movie. Like, I know Eternals is slow, but it still has people doing things that feel very superhero-y, whereas Wakanda Forever doesn't feel like a superhero movie till the end.
The problem is, it is what it was always going to be. For what I remember the Black Panther comics, her becoming Black Panther is very mourning for her through most of it. The problem came is we got it far too early than we ever thought we would.
Yeah, I understand it. I completely get what they were doing and why it had to happen the way it happened. It's just when I sit down to watch a superhero movie, I'm sitting down to watch a superhero movie, and that just doesn't feel like a superhero movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sort of. But to be honest, you got Neymar in it, which I love. So
what phase are we in now?
I think technically we're still end of 5, start of 6.
I think we're still, I still think we're in 5.
I know we've got Ironheart coming, which I'm actually looking forward to. It'd be cool.
As long as we don't get the Power Rangers CG.
It's one of those things, like, you go back to Phase 2, Iron Man 3, Thor Dark World, Captain America Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Age of Ultron, Ant-Man. Phase 3, Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah, I mean,
like all of those, I would happily. You could put them on now, and I would watch them. Maybe not Iron Man 3.
I was about to say, I wasn't the biggest fan of Iron Man 3.
My mum wanted me to walk out of Iron Man 3.
I won't go that far. It's a good film.
It's because it's because Iron Man uses a specific word in that film, and that's one of my mum's no words.
Yeah.
So he uses the clinically correct term for someone with cerebral palsy.
Okay.
I don't want to say it because it can be considered a slur, so I'm not going to say it on the podcast. But if you want to Google what that is, you can. But as myself and my older sister have cerebral palsy, my mum wanted me to leave, and I was there with a friend, so I refused.
I know, Mum.
I was there with my best friend from high school.
Yeah, I won't go that far. I'm looking forward to what's to come because Kevin has said they're going to slow down, not try and push as much out at once.
I think they should just stick with more grounded characters getting TV shows and the more big characters getting the movies. That's my opinion, my hot take.
So on that note, Spider-Man should be a TV show.
Yes. I think Spider-Man at this point, give us a Spider-Man TV show. I think it works better. You get to introduce more characters, introduce the lore, and then you build up to the big movie.
But you're not going to get Tom Holland doing TV shows.
I know, which is the only problem. But you could do that's how you could introduce Miles Morales.
That's true.
That's a good shout.
The kid from Stranger Things is itching to do it.
So,
I can never remember the kid's name.
I mean, he's already MCU canon thanks to the in Homecoming when he, I think it's Donald Glover's character.
Yes, Donald Glover's character. That was a nice touch
because Prowl is
based
on him. Yeah, Miles is based on him, isn't he?
Sort of, yeah. Donald was up for the role of Peter Parker when Andrew Garfield got it. And I think he got to about the final good chunk, if not the final two. And then he wasn't picked for the quite obvious reason out there.
And then they created Miles Morales so that obvious reason wasn't so obvious anymore.
Even though Stanley has said, Peter, Spider-Man's Spider-Man because he can be anybody.
Behind the mask, yeah.
Yeah, that's all part of the full mask.
But, I mean, I think them throwing that my nephew lives in this neighborhood means we could definitely get Miles.
I won't say no to seeing Donald as the Prowler, to be honest.
You're forgetting about Into the Multiverse Spider-Man, the animation.
That's true.
That's cool. But
it's already in the universe as Miles Morales because of that film.
I mean, it's an alternate reality, but they do reference. Yeah,
he's in a universe.
Yeah, but with what's coming with
I know.
Doomsday,
they probably won't pick that actor though.
They can't really pick that actor. He's a bit too old.
Technically, he's about your age, which is normally what they go for.
Wasn't he in some sort of weird thing recently with like Coast?
Yeah, he tried to claim that him and the girl from Homecoming had a thing which she openly denied because she has a very long-term boyfriend. And then he tried it with the girl from the animated movie, who plays Gwen. She's also Mini Hawkeye.
Yeah, Haley Steinfeld.
That's the one. And she went, yeah, no. I'm literally getting married soon, and it's not to you. And he just seemed a bit fishy. So basically, if Spider-Man sounds different in the third movie, you know why?
Yeah. So, but plus, if an animated Miles Morales shows up in Doomsday, I'm just gonna burst out laughing.
And to be honest, you could just get him, just dress him up.
I know, but could you imagine? Because I could actually see it. I could see them doing it. Like, they're all there, and then there's just these animated characters.
Saying that, they have made one of the characters from the first animated movie into an actual series. Spider-Man Noir.
Yes, Spider-Man Noir.
I'm looking forward to it, not at the same time, because it's Nicolas Cage and Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage is one of the best characters that I would want to come back in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, the problem is he has a good movie and a shit movie.
That's Nicolas Cage. All his movies are good movies. I don't know what you're talking about.
Ghost Rider.
Anyway, back to the original point of the podcast. How superhero movies has impacted cinema as a whole.
Nicolas Cage isn't in enough superhero movies, so he's not influenced cinema enough. I'm joking.
I'm going to stop this podcast right there just to hand over to Rob, as he's got some news that he'd like to share with you all. Take it away, Rob.
Hi, yeah, Rob here. I published a book on Lulu Publishing called I'm Not Okay, But I'll Be Alright. It's basically about how I deal with my lung problems, my mental health, things like dyslexia and my bone problem. If you'd like to take a read, like I said, it's on Lulu Publishing. Enjoy. Peace out.
Thank you, Rob, for sharing that wonderful news. I hope everybody that reads your book really enjoys it. If you would like to go and support Rob, the link is in the description down below. Please check it out and hope you enjoy. Thank you, and back to the podcast.
Basically, the main thing you've got to consider on this topic is that it's pushing the envelope for everything in story, like mainly CGI at the minute.
Yeah.
CGI, yeah.
They push the envelope for CGI. I mean, the original X-Men is what told Hollywood that superhero movies could be taken seriously.
But, like, you look outside of Marvel, and you look at The Boys on Amazon.
Oh, The Boys on Amazon.
Yeah. Looking forward to Gen V.
I've not watched it, but apparently, like a lot of things, apparently once you get into it, it's impossible to stop.
Which one?
Have you not heard of it, Rob?
What?
The Boys on Amazon.
Oh no, I've watched it. I've watched all of it. I'm waiting for the next series. I think we're getting Gen V first.
Yeah, I think Gen V Season 2 comes out first. But yeah, it is one of those addicting shows. I mean, the first time I watched The Boys, I hadn't read the comics yet. I have now, but I hadn't yet when I watched this first season. And I didn't know what to expect.
See, I did. And I love the fact they picked Simon Pegg to play his dad. Seeing Huey was based on him.
That's a great shout for him to have done that. But I think going in blind to The Boys, especially for season 1, is diabolical, because you do that and then you're like, what the heck is this? What am I watching?
Your two's reaction is exactly what I wanted, because I don't think that would have got made without where the comic book genre in films is now.
No.
Yeah.
Like,
see, that comic books even helped other genres, like zombie movies.
Yeah, and this is something that it's not even. I reckon in the next 5 years, you might even see comic book movies start to peter out a little bit. I sort of hope they do, because it's such an oversaturated market at the minute. I know Marvel's playing catch up with itself after COVID. That's why every month there seems to be a Marvel movie. You want it to go back to where you see a Marvel movie coming out and you're like, oh, clear the diary. Like, I'm quite annoyed that, I say annoyed, that's the wrong word, that when my son arrives, is that he's coming just as Fantastic Four is coming out.
Ooh.
So I might not be able to see it in the cinema.
Don't worry, I'll watch it and think about it.
I'll live stream it to you.
No, that's called copyright, Ethan. That's called piracy.
I'm joking, obviously.
But you've already got the limb. You've already got the limb, so you would make a good pirate.
Hey!
Thank you, Tom. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, you think it, I say it. That's the difference.
To be fair, my father was another. My older sister was born. He asked his ex-wife not to get into labour during the World Cup final in 1966. And guess what my sister was born? He was not pleased he had to miss us winning the World Cup.
No, but you get what I mean. Like, I want to see it because it could be the start of a new era, but it could also be the death of Marvel's phases.
Pedro Pascal's in it, though, so I can't see it being a flop.
See, that's one of my biggest problems. Not that I don't like Pedro, because I do, he's awesome. I just don't, no offence to him, don't think the smartest man alive.
You say this every time we mention Fantastic Four.
Because I just don't see it. I see more Wolverine type character than Pedro.
Pedro Pascal, if you somehow listen to this very niche podcast, I'm really sorry.
So yeah, don't think you have to worry about Pedro Pascal. It's like,
don't get me wrong. I generally do love Pedro. I love him in The Mandalorian. I love him in The Last of Us. That is probably why I can't see myself as smartest man alive. Because I'm just not used to him playing that type of role. Plus, because of Johnny Storm, I'm probably not going to get one of my favourite Marvel cards.
Yes, Sereno, the Human Torch android.
The better one.
I think they're both as good as each other.
And one's a copy also. The other one's in common.
So, do you think that cinema would have progressed where it is now had it not been for the invention of superhero movies? Like, Hollywood taking note of comic book popularity?
I think it would have done, because you might not have had the Marvel, but you would have had something that would have propelled it forward. Like, technology is always going to be the forefront of Hollywood, and who can make the best, who can make the most realistic, blah, yada, 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 yada.
Do you think we would have got it to the point where it is at this point right now? Like, say we're in an alternate reality and it's still 2025. Do you think the CGI in that reality would be the same as it is here? Or do you think it would slightly be behind?
Probably behind. I think we would have it, just not in 2025. Some of my favourite CGI shit is like the Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah.
So the way I see it is there was 35 years between Man of Steel and the original Superman movies from 1978. And between that time, yes, there were a couple of comic book movies and such, but the way that cinema progressed through sci-fi, through thrillers, through zombies, through all of those other stuff, there was always going to be somebody to make that next connection. I don't think you can purely say that comic books have driven where cinema is today, but I think they've been a massive leg up. They've given it a cheat code basically, and gone, we've got these worlds which are completely fantasy based, but here, what can we do to make them seem more realistic and more attainable? But I still think there would have been someone along the lines.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That would have done it anyway.
So to sum up, then, superheroes contribute to the impact on cinema, but they're not the overall impact on the progression of cinema.
Yes, that's what I would personally go with. That the superheroes have given it a shot in the arm. That's the expression I was looking for. Has given cinema a shot in the arm of what can be expected from a fantasy world. But I also think if left it with Hollywood, it would have got there anyway. Like the thing you can compare it to is going from the silent films to the talkies, and look how much that changed cinema, and how much that changed everything. Whereas this is just cinema taking its next step into what's going to be the future. And then you've got, even in movies that have just been released, there's AI that are correcting actors' accents, so they apply AI to it afterwards to make the voices sound like they're from a different country if they need to be from a different country.
Yeah, Aidan Brody got a lot of dig for that, really.
Yeah. But that is, I think it like Ethan very well summed it up. It's not the major contributing factor. Excuse me, but it's definitely not done anything to harm it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think before we end, then, I think the only last question I have really for you two is: do you think that CGI has taken a back step? Because I've seen that a lot on the internet, and in some areas I agree, but in some areas I definitely disagree. That CGI has been downgraded since the start of the MCU.
I think it's time. I think that if you give CGI people who do CGI a time and money, they can do it well. But the speed at which Marvel have tried to push out movies that might not be the best have led to the fact that people assume that it's gone downhill when it's actually just
they've not been given the time or the patience to do what they need.
I agree with that. I just wanted to see where your heads was at with that.
Oh no, I think it's just a case of rush production and possible reshoots for character changes, line changes. Like, I haven't seen the new Captain America.
It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
But there were so many reshoots done for that movie. That means if they spent months working on a scene on CGI for it then to be reshot, and they're reshooting 3 months before release, and they were working on the original scene for 6 months, it then means that itself is going to
it makes sense. I mean, when it comes to the Captain America movie, I feel that the CGI was pretty good in that film.
Yeah, it was.
My only issue with it was that it was basically Civil War reskinned.
I disagree there. It felt nothing like Civil War at all.
So what was that?
I felt like it was a reskin of Civil War. Rob disagrees.
Well, I can't be the deciding vote in this because I've not seen it.
Yeah.
So the only way to settle it is a fight to the death between you and Rob at high noon tomorrow.
Or let us know in the comments.
Sounds slightly healthier.
Or let us know in the comments who you think, which side you're on, and we'll see who gets better ratio.
The other problem with CGI is people like to hate things just to hate them.
Yeah. This is the thing. There's always going to be a minority that you'll have a lot of DC fans that absolutely hate anything Marvel does, and you'll have a lot of Marvel fans that will just sing blindly into the propaganda machine that is Marvel. But you'll also have people.
This is where I'm great. I love both.
Pardon?
I love both.
Yeah, you'll have people that will always stick to the guns and say Marvel's amazing, and you'll have people that don't. But yeah. I think it's more of a case of you have to value your own opinion more than what other people say, because your own opinion is the one that matters.
Yes.
Definitely. I go do some of the other Keanu Reeves.
So, with that then, guys, and with everything that we've said, let us know how you think superhero movies have impacted cinema as a whole. And if you think we are totally wrong and you think superhero movies are the only reason CGI is as good as it is, then you can tell us that in the comments. But with that, I think we'll call this podcast episode to a close. Thanks, guys, for being here and sharing your expertise.
You're welcome. Thank you for hosting.
No problem. See you all next time, and stay nerdy, everybody.
Bye. Stay nerdy.